Husband revealed shocking race play fantasies, sparking a devastating conflict that now threatens the foundation of our marriage. I'm a black woman, and my husband is white. Yesterday, he looked me in the eyes and admitted something that completely shocked me. He's recently developed an interest in something called race play. Until that moment, I'd barely heard of it, but he explained that it means he has sexual fantasies built around racist scenarios. As if that blunt confession wasn't enough, he gave me an example to make it clearer. He described a fantasy where he imagined himself as a plantation owner, and me as a slave that he keeps as a mistress. The moment the words left his mouth, I felt something inside me twist. I could barely stand to look at him. The only thing I could feel was pure disgust. He knows my history. He knows that in past relationships I've already felt objectified, that this is a place of pain for me, and yes, maybe it's true that people can't control what turns them on, but for me, this crossed a line. I just couldn't separate the man I married from this new image of him, as someone who's attracted by racist power fantasies. He pleaded with me, asked if I'd be willing to give it a chance. But the answer was an immediate, resounding no. I told him I didn't want to and couldn't even consider it. That led to a huge fight, and now he's sleeping in the guest room. He told me I'm not being supportive, that I'm not trying to understand. Now, for the first time, I'm afraid this might be the end of our marriage. The thing is, despite all of this, I still love him. I desperately want to find a way to work through our pain. But I truly don't know how to even start. Update 1. I talked to my husband over lunch. I did what some of you suggested and asked him where he got the idea from and how he started to like it. Most of you were right. He discovered it on a porn site and began watching more porn videos featuring it. He told me that it's been about 2 months since he discovered it. Then he asked me again if I would give it a chance for him. When I told him that I was uncomfortable with it, he got upset again and asked why I wouldn't support him. He even offered that we could try it once and then if I didn't like it we wouldn't have to do it again. But when I said no, he got frustrated and we started to argue. He reminded me of all of the things that he has done for me and how much he always supports me and then called me manipulative. He is now left with the car to go spend time with his friends. I've been crying for the past 15 minutes and I don't know what else to do. Update 2. A couple of commenters have asked about it since the first update a couple of hours ago. I am now trying to see if one of my friends will let me stay with them for a day or two so that I can clear my head. I am no contact with most of my family and the family members that I still talk to live several states away, so staying with family is not an option. And my husband owns the house so I can't change the locks or tell him not to come home. Update 3. It is currently the middle of the night here. I left our house and am now staying with a good friend, and I will be staying here until this evening. I've been here for a few hours now. I did not see my husband before my friend picked me up, but I left him a voicemail to tell him that I needed space to clear my head. I also did what some of you suggested and said in the voicemail that I felt pressured by him into doing something that I didn't want. He has since heard the voicemail and has called and texted begging me to come home. He wants to come pick me up from her house in the morning but I said no. He accused me of abandoning him right before Thanksgiving and his best friend has also texted me to tell me that I'm a bad wife for treating my husband like this when he pays for everything and supports my lifestyle. To be honest, it made me cry more than what my husband said. I don't think I will be able to get any sleep tonight after this. This is not a part of the update but I have received a lot of questions through comments and direct messages so I will answer a few of them here. 1. I do not know if my husband has a porn addiction. To be honest, I am not sure how to tell if someone has a porn addiction. 2. I am 25 and my husband is 33. We have been together for 3 years, almost 4. But we have only been married for 1 year. 3. My husband is the sole earner in our house. I am a stay-at-home wife and do not have any income. 4. We do not have any children together but we're planning to start a family next year. I want children but I am going to put it on hold until I figure things out, of course. 5. We have done domination in the bedroom before so this porn did not awaken that kink in him. 6. All of my husband's ex-girlfriends are white. Aside from 2 guys that I dated in high school and my husband, all of the men that I've dated have been Hispanic or black. 7. Yes, we live in the South but I do not feel comfortable disclosing what state. Hello and happy Thanksgiving to all that celebrate. I apologize if this post seems like a ramble but I have had a very difficult last few days so my thoughts are a little incoherent. I was pointed in the direction of this subreddit by a user who private messaged me because she thought that I would benefit from it. My husband confessed to having a fetish the other day that I am very uncomfortable with. We had a fight about it and he accused me of not being supportive of him because I told him that I wouldn't give it a chance. This led to him sleeping in our guest room and more arguments, and after consulting with others from a different subreddit I had a good friend pick me up and take me to her house while he was out with his friends. She offered to let me spend Thanksgiving with her and her family so I left him a voicemail before I left telling him where I was and that I would be home after Thanksgiving dinner. Now he won't stop texting and leaving voicemails begging me to come home. He has also accused me of abandoning him on Thanksgiving even though I'm supposed to cook and host for his immediate family today. To be honest, I am worried about ruining Thanksgiving. His family loves to celebrate holidays, and Thanksgiving is his mother's favorite. I host and cook for every holiday except for Independence Day and Easter. I know that his siblings are not going to care, but it's his parents that I'm worried about. I have a good relationship with them aside from their nosiness but they are traditional and I worry that if I don't come home and host it will strain our relationship. My husband thinks that I'm going to ruin the entire holiday if I refuse to come home since he can't cook, and he thinks it will be cruel of me to let his family come to our home expecting dinner when there will be nothing to eat because of me. Update 4. While I was preparing dinner with my friend, my husband called me. His family has arrived and his parents aren't happy with his explanation about why I'm not there. He didn't tell them the truth and I don't know what he said, but apparently the excuse that he gave was not a good one because they blame him for it. His mother has taken over making all of the food, and instead of turkey she will be reheating some leftover chicken for them to eat. Apparently she scolded him for fighting with me during a holiday when it's supposed to be about spending time with family and reflecting on why you love them. He sounded like he was about to cry while talking. He asked me if I was happy that his with his mother and father was ruined because I wanted to be spiteful and hurt him instead of just putting my feelings aside and spending time with him and his family, and he said that his friend was right about me being a bad wife because I stooped low enough to embarrass him to his family by ghosting them on a holiday. Then he told me that he is coming to get me at 7:30 and hung up. To be honest, I feel awful for making him cry. I know that I should be happy that his parents are supportive even if he did not tell them the real reason, but my husband rarely cries. I feel terrible for hurting him like that. I think that I messed up by not going home, but I don't know what to do. Not an update, but please stop suggesting that I go to my family. I am no contact with most of my family, including my parents, for a reason that I do not feel comfortable disclosing. The family members that I am in contact with are more distant relatives. And before any of you ask, no, my husband does not have anything to do with why I am no contact with my parents. I have been no contact with them since before we entered a relationship, and he has never met them. Update 5. A lot has happened and I have not been able to come back here until this morning. I'm sorry, after my last post I did go home with my husband. He locked himself in the bathroom, but he did eventually come out. We had a conversation and I apologized for upsetting him. He also apologized for making me cry. That Friday he made his friend apologize to me, and he also apologized to me for everything else and said that he wanted to fix things. He bought me a necklace and bracelet during his Black Friday shopping to show how much he loves me. That night we slept together for the first time since all of this started. It was fine and nothing strange really happened, but I still felt weird, but I decided to just ignore it. I brought up starting therapy to him a few times over the weekend, but he got very upset and defensive whenever I tried to bring it up, so after a few days I just let it go and decided to just try and move on. He took me on a small vacation to a resort in our state this week because he thought that having time away from everything would help us get closer after the unpleasantness. I was happy to get some time away to clear my head and spend time with him so we could make things work, so I agreed. I loved spending time with him. Things were fine until Wednesday night. We went to the beach that day and then saw a movie. When we got back to the resort that night he asked me again if I would give his fantasy a chance. Of course I said no. But he insisted and got frustrated when I refused again. He suddenly got very angry and asked why I was treating him this way when he believed he was doing everything right. I felt very scared and attempted to go to the bathroom, but he stopped me and held me down. I felt powerless and just stayed there, crying. He said some hurtful things to me and forced me to say hurtful things as well. I feel terrible and now I struggle to face or even think about myself. I've thrown up most food I've had since and I'm having nightmares. We came back home today and I've been in our room the entire time. He has been acting like nothing happened and thinks that I just came down with the flu or coronavirus. I wish that I had listened to you all. You all were right and now I don't know what to do. Update 6. I'm sorry for not updating you all on the situation in over 2 months. To be honest, I have been very depressed and I haven't felt motivated to do much of anything recently. But I thought that you all deserve to know how the situation stands. Unfortunately, I suffered a miscarriage on January 12th. I won't go into detail on it, but I had only known about it for 3 weeks when it happened after I went to the doctor for testing like some of you suggested. I was at 10 weeks. My husband and I are back together. I've been back at the house full time since the first week of January, after coming back for a few days over the holidays. He promised me that he would change and be better if I came home, and I felt guilty about not letting him prove himself, so I agreed. He hadn't known about the baby before I miscarried and he was angry that I didn't tell him, so we got into an argument at the doctor's when he found out. My husband's mother talked to him about it after he told her what happened and he apologized for screaming at me while I apologized for not telling him. Other than this incident, he's been supportive and gentle. We've both been making an effort to change and be better to each other, and we're currently in couples counseling together. I know that people wanted me to get a divorce, but I decided that trying to work things out with him was the best option for us. I have still been spending more time with my close friend and she isn't really happy that I moved back in so soon, but our other friends are happy that we're giving it another try. I did end up telling a few of them about the fetish and they were divided on it. Either they thought it was weird or they didn't think that it was worth the fuss I made. So I guess opinion about it is still divided. But I am also planning to get a part-time job soon. My best friend said that she'll help me get one. We haven't had sex or done anything of that nature since I've been back for obvious reasons. And he hasn't talked about his fetish to me either. We did have a talk about what happened when he forced himself on me, and he said that he didn't know I was upset since he thought that I was enjoying it because I didn't try to get up after he started. I guess that I should have told him to get off or something, but I did cry a lot during our talk and he said sorry and that he didn't know. I know that this isn't the update some of you wanted, but I do feel supported and loved by my husband right now, and I want to just heal from this loss now along with him. I will update soon if I feel the motivation to. But if not, then I will probably come back in a month or two. I'm sorry for not updating you all in almost 2 years, but I wanted to briefly update everyone and let you know that I am alive and safe and no longer with my soon-to-be ex-husband. The circumstances are less than ideal for multiple reasons, but I'm safe and I'll never go back to him. I will post a longer update sometime this week, but for the meantime I'll be happy to talk with anyone about things if they are curious. I just wanted to say that I am grateful for all of the kind words and support that I received from you all. And to the people like you /Balloon and others who sent me harmful and harassing messages, I'm glad to know that there are people in life more miserable than I was. Thank you everyone. Update 7. I've been reading and rereading the comment sections of my old posts for weeks. The one thing my therapist warned me about is how revisiting the past can make you feel like you're holding your breath and living it all over again. But it also helps me see how much stronger I am now, and I promised I'd come back here with a full update. So here it is, the long, honest version. First, I'm okay. That feels weird to type out, but it's true. Not perfect, not magically healed, but okay. That's more than I thought I'd be 18 months ago. Some of you wondered how things finally ended between my ex-husband and me, and I know the last update was a little cryptic. The truth is, it all came apart a lot more suddenly than I could have guessed. After my miscarriage and everything we'd been through, there was a lull, a period where things were fine on the outside. We went to couples counseling. I picked up that part-time retail job with my best friend's help, and getting out of the house made things feel lighter for the first time in years. My ex acted supportive about my new schedule, but there was a brittleness to it, little hints of tension running under the surface. Counseling went well enough at first, but after a few weeks, my ex started resenting it. He'd get defensive when the counselor brought up boundaries or when the word consent came around. He kept making jokes about how politically correct everything was, and even laughed off the session where I finally managed to discuss what had happened between us on that awful night at the resort. When the therapist pressed gently about that night, my ex-husband said, "Why keep going over this?" I apologized. But it was clear he didn't get it. He saw that night as a miscommunication, and not the seismic betrayal that it was for me. Things crept back in. He didn't bring up the specifics of his fetish again, but the porn habit returned, and late one night I came home from a shift to find the browser open, images and stories that made me go cold. This time, instead of arguing, I wordlessly closed his laptop, left the room, and locked the door behind me. I slept with one eye open, but this small act made something click. I wasn't afraid anymore. Just tired. Utterly, profoundly tired. The big break came not with a fight, but a fizzle. I had put in an online request for a place at an apartment complex closer to my job, thinking it would take weeks. The next morning, I got the acceptance email. I think some part of me wanted fate to make the decision for me. I packed my things, my best friend drove her dad's SUV over and we moved my boxes in 2 trips with shaking hands and nervous laughter. When I told him I was leaving, he was first confused, then furious, then pitiful. But I didn't cry. For once, I just felt numb and sure. After I left, things were quiet for a while until he started showing up at my job. Not in a scary way, but in that pathetic, pleading way that turns your guts sour from a mix of pity and dread. My manager eventually had a gentle but firm word with him. After that, he sent a few long, rambling emails, but then he stopped. I kept all the messages for my records, just in case. His family reached out too. His mom wanted to know my side. For a split second, I considered telling her everything, every dark and twisted detail. But something in me rebelled. I didn't want to be defined by his desires or his violence. I wrote a simple, polite apology, told her the marriage was over, and blocked the number. That was that. My own world, outside of my ex, started to take shape for the first time in years. My hours increased at work, and my boss offered a promotion a few months later. The apartment was terrible at first, too small, with a leaky faucet that made weird gurgling noises at 2 a.m., but it was mine. Every product in the bathroom, every throw pillow, every squeaky kitchen chair was mine. I painted the living room teal. My best friend and I binge-watched old horror movies and ate takeout on the floor until it felt like home. Therapy became a lifeline instead of a tug-of-war. My therapist and I dug up a lot of things from my childhood, another story, another time, and worked on safety, trust, and not apologizing for needing boundaries. We talked about what it means to still have nightmares, about halfway missing someone even when you know you're better off. Eventually, I started dating again, nothing serious and nothing nearly as fast as my marriage. The first person I swiped on was another black woman. We ended up as friends, not lovers, but it was the first time, in years, that there was laughter and ease and no hidden dangers. I met people through work, church, a weekly trivia night at a local bar. I told myself before each date, you can leave at any time. My ex's specter faded, less like a monster, more like looking at a faded photo from a vacation you barely remember. If you're still reading this, here's what I want to say: none of this was easy. I'm still healing. I still have days where being touched makes me tense up, or where I remember how fragile I felt that night on the resort bed, and I have to count my breaths to make it through. There are people who won't ever understand why what happened was unforgivable, and that's okay, too. But there are also women, and men, who message me privately, telling me their stories, or what parts of mine help them put words to their own silent miseries. There is immense relief in knowing you are not alone in your confusion, your anger, your pain, your hope. There are 1,000 tiny details I could add. My favorite thrift store finds, the stray cat who adopted me, the way my boss hugged me the day my divorce papers came through. But what matters most is this: my life is growing again. Messy as hell, sure, but mine. Update 8. It feels impossible to sum up the last several months, but I promised myself I would try. If nothing else, I owe it to the people who reminded me, sometimes in the middle of the night when I'd scroll Reddit through bleary eyes, that there's a whole chorus out here cheering for me. I won't lie, I almost didn't write this update. It feels like picking at a closed wound. But the wound changed me, and everything that's bloomed around it is, for once, worth showing. I signed my divorce papers in early summer, alone in my little teal living room with only my cat. Yes, he's still here, huge. Now, he sleeps draped over my neck like he owns me, and a mug of chamomile tea for company. It was anticlimactic after all the chaos: pen on paper, a notary on speaker, a pale envelope sliding into a mailbox slot. I thought I would weep, but when I sent the papers off, I just felt relief. Silence. It was almost disappointing, but the absence of dread is a kind of euphoria. That's something I never understood until now. The craziest thing about after is how much time there is to fill. At first, I clocked more hours at work, training, promotions, even leading a department meeting, my hands trembling so badly I almost spilled hot coffee on the regional director's shoes. He laughed. It broke the ice. Sometimes a little disaster helps. My boss and I started a running joke about who could find the ugliest motivational mug at the thrift store. I won twice in a row, one with "hang in there. Nobody likes Mondays." And another with a cartoon bear flexing cartoon biceps. On weekends, my best friend and I decorated our apartments like teenagers: string lights, neon signs, cheesy home sweet home pillows. There's an old Victrola I stumbled across at a yard sale. She insisted we haul it up 4 flights of stairs, and now we play scratchy Otis Redding records during impromptu dance parties. Sometimes other friends join us, sometimes it's just me and her and the cat, but no matter what, there's laughter where there used to be silence. I switched therapists, not because my first one was bad, but because my new one, a black woman in her 40s with the driest sense of humor I've ever met, told me on our first Zoom session, "Men will beg you to save their ego and call it love. We're not doing that here." I burst into tears. She handed me a virtual tissue, and then we built something solid from there. We do EMDR for the trauma. On other days, we just talk. I told her about the race play, the aftermath, the way it chewed up my insides. She didn't flinch. His kink wasn't just a kink. It was a lens. "You didn't want to wear those glasses. That's not on you." We sat with that sentence a whole session. Sometimes, that's all you can do, sit and try to let the truth absorb. In late September, my ex sent one last long email. He'd entered another relationship, a woman from his work, apparently, and he wanted closure. There were paragraphs about regrets, about understanding himself better, about consent and healing and roleplay. I stared at my laptop for a full 5 minutes before quietly clicking archive. I never responded. I've learned that not every door needs to be slammed, some are meant to be gently closed. Work, therapy, friendship, those became my tent poles. But there were new things too. Embarrassingly, I went on several first dates, all awkward, but none threatening, which in itself felt heroic. I've formed a tight little group with a few queer women I met through a book club. Classic, I know. We sit in coffee shops and discuss everything from Octavia Butler to messy exes. One night, after 2 glasses of discount Merlot, I told the whole story. There was a shocked silence, and then rhythmic cursing, hugs, promises to egg his house, and, finally, a genuine smile from me. That smile stuck. The most unexpectedly healing thing, though, was enrolling in a beginning ceramics course. I have exactly zero artistic ability, but shaping clay was therapy in its own way. There's a mug on my counter now, globby, lopsided, deep maroon with a single golden streak. The instructor praised it, called it bold. I laughed and said, "It's ugly, but it's mine." I think that's becoming my new motto. And maybe that's the point. My life is still patchy and unpredictable. I still have nights when I wake up afraid, or mornings where I step into the shower and cry. The difference is, it doesn't feel endless anymore. I have supports now, real ones, chosen ones. I've made peace with the fact that some people, even those you love, will use your vulnerabilities as props for their own drama. But there are others, long-lost friends who pop up with soup, coworkers who text you dumb memes, queer women who hold your hand while you smash misshapen clay mugs together in the back of a stuffy community center, who make it worth it. If you're reading this and wondering if there really is a new world waiting after you finally break free, I promise you, it exists. It looks like teal living rooms, and thrifted mugs, and finally knowing that your body and your boundaries belong to you. Sometimes, the only way to get there is through the chaos. And if it feels impossible, hold on. I almost didn't believe it, either. Update 9. I probably won't ever be done with this story, but for now, this is the wildest, fullest, and maybe most beautiful update yet. When I look back, I can trace each step over the last year as if I'm walking barefoot along a path that's sometimes jagged, sometimes soft with grass, sometimes boggy with mud that wants to pull you under. If you'd told the version of me who spent Thanksgiving night sobbing on a friend's couch that things could ever look like this, so bright, so strange, I'd never have believed you. Last spring, after the divorce paperwork had gathered dust and coffee rings and cat fur in my apartment, I got the urge to travel, something I used to dream about, then shelved away because the man I married never wanted to leave the state. You know those sudden, itchy jolts where you just have to get out? One Friday morning I found myself staring at cheap flights with my best friend over brunch. She's a lemon ricotta pancake purist, I'm a biscuits and gravy apologist. The next thing I knew, we'd booked a week-long trip to New Orleans with nothing on the agenda except food, jazz, and utter freedom. It was the first time I'd felt truly anonymous since all this began, just another black woman laughing with her friend over beignets, not someone with a reputation or a trauma to manage. We talked about everything and nothing, and one night, a busker played Nina Simone at midnight while people danced barefoot around us in the French Quarter. I let myself join in, even though I danced like somebody's dad at a barbecue, and for a moment my skin felt like it belonged only to me, not as a souvenir or someone else's fantasy. I realized, for the first time in my life, that joy could feel like an act of resistance. More than that, an act of reclamation. Work changed, too. My boss, the one who collected terrible mugs, announced she was taking a job out of state. She left me her hanging there. Mug, our own weird legacy. Instead of panicking, I applied to be her replacement. I'm not sure I've ever wanted anything so badly, and I outworked every doubt she'd ever planted in me. When I got the job, I celebrated by buying a silly expensive jumpsuit and wore it to my first all-hands meeting. I nearly passed out, but the feeling of standing at the head of a room, everyone waiting for my mouth to open, was electric. Like breathing for the first time. There's more, of course. With the new position came a huge pay bump. And with that came the reckless desire to take the ceramics thing seriously. My new place, yes, I moved, is small but has a weird sunroom that the landlord said is technically a laundry room, but you do you. I set up a rickety wheel, some thrifted shelves, and a rainbow of glazes. My mugs are still ugly, bold, sure, but ugly as heck. I've taken to giving them away as cursed gifts at every holiday and birthday. My queer book club believes I'll be famous for them one day. Lies, but I love them for it. Therapy, wild as ever, kept me upright for the weirdest plot point yet. My ex-husband's new girlfriend messaged me. I know. The email came out of nowhere, polite but hesitant. She said she'd found my number by accident. He'd left one of our old emails open on his laptop. At first I nearly deleted it, then something told me to reply. She just wanted to ask me, gently, if I had ever felt unsafe, if she was imagining things. I felt every hair stand up as I typed back a long, careful message, not telling her what to do, but telling her the truth of what happened to me, with details I'd never put online. I wished her courage, and didn't expect to hear anything else. She wrote back a week later, thanked me, said she'd ended things and was safe. She told me she planned to get a therapist herself. If I did nothing else in this world, that was enough. I'm not going to pretend everything is easy. I still have triggers, certain movies, the wrong joke, the metallic tang of guilt that sometimes sneaks in when I'm happy. Sometimes I worry that my boundaries are too thick now, that nobody will ever really get close again. But I'm dating, slowly, awkwardly, hilariously. Right now, there's someone. She's a software engineer, hilarious, has a smile that dimples all the way to her eyes, and she cooks with enough garlic to keep the entire vampire population of Louisiana at bay. We take things at my pace, and when I'm scared, she doesn't flinch. She's patient with my ugly mugs, calls my sunroom the Wong Palace, and she never makes me feel small. Last week, for the first time, I told my story at a community event about healing and starting over. It was terrifying, exposing, and cathartic. There were jaws dropped, heads shaking, hugs with strangers. One black woman, maybe 20 years my senior, just held me so tight I couldn't breathe, and whispered, "We make our own homes now." I'm letting that be my new gospel. I don't have a neat ending for you, because life doesn't work that way. But I do have something I never thought I'd find again, the certainty that I am not broken. I'm just in progress. The past is gruesome and complicated and shaped me, sure. But I get to shape what happens next, lace it with teal walls, slow Sunday mornings, loud laughter, garlic breath kisses, and mugs that are ugly but absolutely mine. If you're in the middle of your own mess and it feels like there will never be sunlight again, I hope you hang in. Get yourself a dumb mug. Listen to Nina Simone on a porch at midnight. Hold your boundaries like rare coins. And above all, don't let anyone else tell you what you're allowed to want, or forgive.